Hi, and welcome to our program, KRPW Local Look, a local town government news program for Concord and Carlisle. I'm Carlin Reed.
I'm Stefan Bader.
And I'm Peggy Wargelin. Today we will look briefly at these topics. What happened at the February 10th Concord Select Board meeting, and what did the Carlisle Board of Selectmen do at their February 11th meeting? Okay, let's dive down into the first topic.
The Concord Select Board began the open meeting by approving the consent agenda, which included some gift acceptances and one-day special liquor licenses. Next, they heard from the town manager, Stephen Crane. Crane reported that the town received a $160,000 grant from Mass DOT, Department of Transportation, to fund the Concord Shuttle. This would be an extension of the Crosstown Connect, a regional transportation service for the town's workforce. Crane said the data breach investigation continues into the missing hard drives, and notifications to current and former employees will be forthcoming. The town is about to award a tree trimming contract through the light plant, and the affected streets will be posted on the light plant's website.
Chairman Mike Lawson noted the public hearings on warrant articles, the March 3rd presidential primary, and the March 31st town election in his chair remarks. Lawson said he met with other towns' representatives to develop an activities list for the 2025 Concord celebration of the battles of Lexington and Concord. The board held a brief public hearing about extending the hours of the Salt Box Kitchen on Valentine's Day and heard a request to support the Future Act, House Bill 2849, Senate Bill 1940, about transitioning to renewable energy. The board approved both requests. The board also heard a report from the town clerk, Kari Tari, about an early voting from February 24th through 28th.
Next, the Select Board listened to a presentation by Walter Ohanian from the Grantham Group about Warrant Article 16, the proposed Tax Increment Financing Agreement, or TIF, for Christopher Heights, also known as Junction Village. A TIF would give Grantham a property tax break for the Junction Village development. Ohanian said he needs a TIF that would limit the property taxes to $75,000 for 20 years to stay within his corporation's budget for this project. Lane Partridge, the town assessor, said the property taxes without a TIF in place would be roughly $187,000, or more than $100,000 over Grantham's budget. Partridge said that an alternative negotiated tax agreement called a pilot, or payment in lieu of taxes, is not available in this case because Grantham is a for-profit corporation and pilots are only used for nonprofit organizations. Ohanian asserted that the TIF was needed to keep this 83-unit affordable housing project viable for the future. He said that Grantham's tax estimate was based on Grantham's housing projects in other towns. Partridge stated that the TIF would be a percentage of value, not a fixed dollar amount, and would change as the tax rates change over the years. Partridge said that he and Crane would be negotiating the final TIF agreement with Grantham if town meeting approves Article 16. Concord Select Board member Linda Escobedo noted that originally the $75,000 was to be split, $40,000 for taxes and $35,000 for the ground lease rent, which would go to the CHDC, or Concord Housing Development Corporation.
The chair of the 2229 Main Street Oversight Committee, Pam Rockwell, and the chair of the NMI StarMet Reuse Planning Committee, Gary Kleiman, updated the board on the cleanup and reuse plans for the 46-acre Superfund site known as 2229 Main Street in Concord. Rockwell provided highlights of her committee's 2019 annual report. Rockwell said that remediation planning has begun for this site, and cleanup is estimated to take 4 to 6 years. Kleiman said creating a reuse design for the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, has begun. His committee has designed reuse zones for the site and created some development concepts. Kleiman set a reporting timeline of possible uses for that site by December 2020. The Select Board will be considering in 2021 whether to take ownership of the site. Lawson expressed concerns about the sizable liens against the property, clear title of ownership, and other development actions.
Board member Jane Hotchkiss led her colleagues through a draft charge for the Transportation Advisory Committee. Members of this committee would be appointed by the town manager for 3-year terms. The committee would include various town department representatives, members of the bicycling community, and other town residents. Their charge would be to provide the Select Board and town manager with recommendations on meeting transportation needs in Concord.
The board members gave their liaison reports, heard a summary of correspondence, and appointed election officers to work in the upcoming 2020 elections. There were no committee nominations or appointments or public comments. The Select Board meeting adjourned around 9:15 p.m.
Now on to our next segment about the Carlisle Board of Selectmen and their February 11th meeting. Carlisle Board Chair Kate Reed opened the session by reviewing the agenda and hearing community input. Tim Goddard, Town Administrator, stated in his report that the Building Commissioner says the temporary trailer at the Department of Public Works needs a license, so the board granted the license. The Recreation Commission Chair is working on the dog park and next year will seek CPA funds. The board authorized the Master Planning Committee to hang a banner at the Town Common from February 17th to June 5th.
The town accountant, Priscilla Dumka, gave the fiscal year 19 year-end expense reports, and the board asked questions about the revenues, including revenues from school solar panels. Dumka noted that additional CPA funds were received, and she said that additional expenses will require transfers from several accounts, including vocational education. The board heard a discussion about the proposed underground storage tank removal and installation at the fire station. The current tank, which fuels the emergency power generator, needs to be removed. The discussion focused on whether to install a 300-gallon or a 500-gallon tank, and whether to use it as a second refueling station for ambulances and fire trucks. After an extended discussion about the inadequacies of the fueling site at the town's DPW, the board voted in favor of the 300-gallon above-ground storage tank.
The Carlisle board members held an annual town meeting coordination committee meeting with FinCom and other budgeting groups. They discussed the proposed fiscal year 21 operating budget, capital budget, a recommended non-union wage adjustment, personnel changes and staffing levels, and a deadline for the draft 2020 annual town meeting warrant. The budget group recommended increasing the snow removal budget and the annual OPEB contribution, as well as adding a cost of living increase to the budget. The budget group expressed the need for more funds for facilities management to extend the life of the town buildings, especially the police station. The current use of revolving funds for personnel hours was explored. At the end of this discussion, the board approved a 2% COLA for fiscal year 21. The warrant closes March 10th.
The board reviewed town policies for a sick leave bank and for posting notices about the right to farm bylaw and complete streets. The board talked about ways to make the warrant articles more understandable. Then the members approved the amended minutes of their January 28, 2020 meeting. The meeting was adjourned around 10:15 p.m.
That's a report on the Concord Select Board meeting of February 10th and the Carlisle Board of Selectmen meeting of February 11th. The meeting materials for both meetings are available on the town's websites. Both meetings were videotaped by Minuteman Media Network and are now available online and on TV Channel 9.
Well, that's all we have time for today on KRPW Local Look, your local town government news show for Concord and Carlisle. Please join us again when we look at another part of our town's inner workings and let us know if you want to be part of future programs. See you next time.
Thanks
for
for watching.